Celtic warmed up for their first clash of the season against Rangers with a 7-0 win over Brechin in the second round of the Skol League Cup at Celtic Park in midweek. The only worry for Celtic after the match was a hamstring strain suffered by Murdo MacLeod, who was replaced by Alan McInally, the substitute joining Roy Aitken, Mo Johnson with 2, Paul McStay, Davy Provan and Tommy Burns on the scoresheet. MacLeod was rated as doubtful for the showdown with Rangers, but was given until the last moment to prove his fitness against Celtic's oldest rivals, who were sitting top of the league for the first time since 1980, but only a point ahead of Celtic, who hoped to replace them in pole position with a win. Celtic were favourites going into the match, Rangers having won only once at Celtic Park since the Premier Division was formed 10 years before. They struggled to overcome Forfar in their own Skol Cup match in midweek, and Jim Reynolds wrote in the Glasgow Herald on the morning of the game, "A crowd of 62,000 should be in for a real treat if both sides continue their early season form. Rangers' little hiccup against Forfar will have no bearing on what happens today, and they must travel to Parkhead in a more confident frame of mind than for a long time. But Celtic's big advantage is that they have potential scorers in every department, and that could swing things their way." MacLeod passed a late fitness test and took up his place in midfield as Celtic lined up Bonner, McGrain, Burns, Aitken, McAdam, Grant, Provan, P. McStay, Johnston, MacLeod, McClare, subs, McInally, O'Leary. Celtic were well on top for most of the 90 minutes and had an early strike by Tom McAdam ruled out for offside after he turned in a Murdo MacLeod header from a Davy Provan free kick on 10 minutes. Jim Reynolds wrote in the Glasgow Herald of the 2nd of September 1985, "Celtic certainly did their business, up to a point, which was the Rangers' penalty area. It was almost 20 minutes before the Ibrox men mounted a serious attack, and by that time, Celtic had seen a Tom McAdam goal disallowed, Walker saved brilliantly from Murdo MacLeod, and Brian McClare send a header just over. Celtic had complete control in the midfield, and it seemed only a matter of time before they would score. But, as so often happens in such a situation, the team on the receiving end suddenly burst forward to take the lead. A low cross from Hugh Burns was turned in at the back post by Ali McCoist on 34 minutes, and Rangers enjoyed their best spell of the match up to half-time. Celtic recovered their composure at the beginning of the second half and equalised on 52 minutes with a superb goal from Paul McStay. Alan Davidson wrote in the Evening Times of the 31st of August 1985, "There seemed little danger when Celtic won a free kick 30 yards out, but MacLeod tipped the ball into the path of McStay, who strode forward, then powered a right foot drive low past Walker's left hand and into the net from 20 yards. After an indifferent spell of form in the early part of 1985, the 20-year-old McStay was showing all of his early promise again, controlling the flow of the game and driving Celtic on as they did everything but score. Mike Aitken wrote in The Scotsman of the 2nd of September, "His passing, shooting and ability to make space in frantic circumstances were all worthy of special mention. Not since last autumn has McStay looked quite so complete a player." This was a view shared by the Watching Scotland manager Jock Stein, preparing for the upcoming World Cup qualifier against Wales in Cardiff, in what was very possibly his last ever visit to Celtic Park. He was quoted by Aitken, "McStay seemed above it all." Unfortunately, McStay's promptings failed to bring out a winner, and Rangers' luck held out to the last. Alan Davidson reported in the Evening Times, 5 minutes from the end, Johnston hit a low shot against the post, and the ball rebounded into Walker's arms. Celtic were understandably unsatisfied with the draw, leaving their Glasgow rivals still a point ahead after 4 games. Jim Reynolds wrote in the Glasgow Herald, "Celtic should be perched on top of the Premier Division this morning after the first Old Firm confrontation of the season. They outplayed Rangers for most of an intriguing Parkhead match, conducted brilliantly by Paul McStay, yet had to settle for a point, which leaves them looking up at their old rivals who lead the race for the championship. Still, the Parkhead men should not feel sorry for themselves. It is true they faced a magnificent display of goalkeeping by Nicky Walker, but they still managed to miss enough genuine chances to have won 2 or 3 matches. No one really believed in August 1985 that Rangers would be genuine challengers for the title, and they would finish the season in a distant 5th place. The disappointment was not so much over failing to beat Rangers, but in the failure to stay ahead of reigning champions Aberdeen, who with a 3-1 win over Dundee at Dens Park moved into 2nd place on goal difference. With both teams now on 6 points from 4 games, Aberdeen's rapidly approaching visit to Celtic Park on the 15th of September was already shaping up to be of enormous importance in the league race.